My mind used to feel like a chaotic storm I just couldn't escape. I was drowning in stress, and every single day felt like a battle against my own thoughts. It was like my brain was a web browser with 1,000 tabs open, all playing different, loud, anxiety-inducing videos at the same time. I was just constantly overwhelmed, exhausted from the inside out, and I felt like I was failing at everything, because I couldn't get my own mind to just be quiet. I tried everything the internet told me to do. I downloaded meditation apps that I never opened. I bought journals that stayed painfully empty. I even forced myself to go on these long, grueling runs that I absolutely hated, all in the name of mental wellness. But nothing ever stuck. It all just felt like another huge task on an already impossible to-do list. I'd end up feeling even more like a failure when I couldn't keep up with these supposedly life-changing routines. I was convinced that fixing my mind had to be this massive, complicated process, and I just didn't have the energy for it. Then I found 3 ridiculously simple, almost too easy daily habits, inspired by Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, that completely turned everything around. And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. We're talking about things that take just a few moments a day. These 3 habits didn't just help me cope. They didn't just make things a little better. They rescued my mind. They were the life raft that pulled me out of the storm. And today I'm going to share them with you, because I'm certain that if they could work for me in the middle of my own chaos, they can work for you too. And if this feeling of being overwhelmed sounds familiar, and you're looking for more ways to find some calm in the chaos, think about subscribing. I share practical, realistic strategies here, and I'd love for you to be part of our community. Habit number 1. Watching the thinker. The first habit meets you right where the stress usually begins. The moment you wake up. For me, my eyes would snap open, and before my feet even hit the floor, my mind was already racing. That voice in my head was already listing the day's anxieties, yesterday's failures, the mountain of tasks ahead. It would all come crashing down on me at once. I was starting every single day possessed by a stream of thought, already exhausted before I'd even had a sip of coffee. The habit that changed this is to spend 3 to 5 minutes simply watching the thinker. It sounds incredibly simple, but its effect is profound. Here's what it looks like. Before you pick up your phone, before you let the world in, just sit on the edge of your bed or even just stay lying down. Close your eyes and just listen to the voice in your head. Notice the thoughts that are already there. The key is to not get involved, not to judge them and not to believe them. Just watch them as if you're watching clouds drift across the sky. You aren't the thoughts. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. When you do this, you create a separation between you, the conscious observer, and the compulsive stream of thinking. You realize that the voice in your head isn't necessarily you, and isn't necessarily telling the truth. It's just an old, conditioned pattern of the mind. By simply watching it without engagement, you take away its power. You stop getting swept away by the anxious stories it creates. When I first started, my mind was screaming for attention. But I committed to just 3 minutes of being the silent witness. On the first day, I noticed a tiny gap of silence between thoughts. By the end of the week, I realized I wasn't waking up as my anxiety anymore. I was waking up as the one who notices the anxiety. That small shift changes everything. It sets a peaceful, present tone for the day instead of a frantic, reactive one. Habit number 2. Feeling the inner body. The second habit takes on the other end of the day. The moments right before you try to sleep. For me, this was prime time for my anxiety to go wild. I'd lie in bed and my brain would play a highlight reel of everything that went wrong that day. Every awkward conversation, every missed deadline. My mind would just chew on these negative moments, ruminating until I was wired and totally unable to sleep. It was a vicious cycle. The habit that rescued my nights is anchoring my attention in my inner body. Forget trying to think your way to peace. The goal here is to shift your focus completely out of your mind and into the physical sensations within you. Here's what it looks like. As you're lying in bed, instead of getting caught in the mental movies, bring your full attention to the feeling of aliveness inside your hands. Can you feel a subtle tingling, a warmth, a vibration? Just rest your focus there. Then let your attention move to your feet. Can you feel the life energy in them too? Gradually expand that awareness to your arms, your legs, and eventually your whole body, feeling it as a single field of gentle energy. This isn't just a distraction. Your mind cannot create its anxious stories when your attention is deeply rooted in the present moment. And the body is always, always in the present moment. The inner body is your direct portal to the now. By placing your attention there, you cut off the fuel supply, your focus to the ruminating mind. The first time I did this, it was a struggle. My mind kept trying to pull me back into its dramas. But I'd just gently guide my attention back to the feeling in my hands. And something fascinating happened. The thoughts were still there in the background, but they lost their charge. They couldn't hook me. This practice ends your day anchored in a deep sense of physical peace, rather than letting the chaos of your mind have the last word. Habit number 3, the 1-minute yes. The third habit is for the middle of the day when you feel that familiar wall of burnout and overwhelm closing in. You know that feeling, you're at your desk, and your brain just feels fried. You're losing focus, and every little task feels like a huge effort. I used to just try to power through that feeling, which only ever made me feel more frantic and stressed. The habit that broke this cycle is what I call the 1-minute yes. This is about radical acceptance of the present moment. The rule is simple. At least once a day, when you feel that internal resistance and stress building up, you stop and for 1 minute you surrender. You don't even have to move. Just stop what you're doing. Close your eyes if you can. Notice the feeling of tension, of frustration, of wanting to be anywhere but where you are. That is the feeling of saying no to the present moment. Then, just for this minute, you internally say yes to it. Yes to the feeling of overwhelm. Yes to the pressure. Yes to this moment exactly as it is. You're not saying you like it or want it to continue. You are simply dropping the internal war against what is already here. All suffering is a form of non-acceptance. By saying yes, you stop fighting reality. What I found was that dropping the resistance didn't make me passive. It made me powerful. When I stopped fighting the feeling of being overwhelmed, a space of calm would open up around it. From that calm space, I could see my next move with clarity, not panic. This habit interrupts the stress cycle, at its root, our resistance. It taught me that surrender isn't weakness. It's the source of true peace and effective action. On their own, each of these habits seems almost insignificant. A few minutes of watching your thoughts, feeling your hands, saying yes to what is. How could something so small possibly rescue a mind that felt like it was drowning? The power isn't in some grand gesture, but in the consistent return to the present moment. These habits work because of the compound effect. Small, repeated actions, done daily, start to dissolve your identification with the chaotic mind, and they build on each other. Watching your thoughts in the morning makes it easier to accept the stressful moments later. Accepting the stressful moments makes it easier to feel the peace of your inner body at night. Together, they create a new foundation for your life. A foundation of presence. They dial down that constant state of high alert. They build profound resilience. And most importantly, because they are so small and manageable, they are habits you can actually stick with, even on your worst days. They prove that you don't need some massive life overhaul to find peace. You just need to come back to right here, right now. To conclude, my mind isn't a chaotic storm anymore. I still have thoughts, of course, but they don't consume me. I now have these simple, reliable tools to anchor me in the present. These 3 tiny habits gave me back a sense of myself, separate from my mind. They rescued me by showing that the path to wellness isn't about adding more to do, but about letting go into the peace that is already here. You don't have to do all 3 at once. Just pick one. The one that feels easiest. The one that speaks to you the most. Commit to it for just 1 week and see how you feel. I'm really curious. What is one tiny habit that has helped you find the present moment? Or which of these three are you willing to try? Let me know in the comments below. Sharing our strategies is how we all help each other get through the storm. Thanks for watching.